What is the most unsettling fact that you know? Story 1. The vastness of the ocean and the vastness of space, but more the ocean, because the chances of me dying in space are very low, whereas I live within miles of the ocean and sometimes voluntarily choose to subject myself to a buoyant jaunt on its surface. Answer: we know so little about the ocean, but space is unfathomably vast. It would take light 1/17 of a second to zip around Earth in a fiber optic cable, 2 seconds to get to the moon and back, 16 mins to the sun and back, and 10 times as long as humans have had writing to get to the other side of just our galaxy. There are 6 billion galaxies. We are nothing. Story 2. That many people at this very second are wishing for the glass of water I just got from the tap. And of course that someday I will know what it feels like to die. Like it's completely unavoidable. At some point in the future, I will be like, "You wanted to know what comes after passing? Well, there it is." Every time I think about this, I feel something like intense stage fright. Story 3. We are each going to die in some specific, unknown place. You may pass it every day. It may be home, the safest place you know. It may be a gas station. It may be somewhere you have absolutely no knowledge of, surrounded by people you don't now know. But no matter what, that place is out there right now, just waiting for you to show up. Story 4. Bobbit worms. However, I appreciate this Bob Ross quote. Gotta have opposites, dark and light and dark in painting. It's like in life. Gotta have a little sadness once in a while so you know when the good times come. I'm waiting on the good times now. Answer: my time to shine with wonderfully useless knowledge of the bobbit worm. They come from eggs which can be dormant in corals you buy for fish tanks and such. They are next to invincible and on top of strong jaws that can slice a femur in half. They are covered in venomous spines. So literally out of nowhere, these things can appear in your saltwater fish tank, and it's virtually impossible to eliminate them, and they will chew tunnels through all your coral and slice your fish in half. Not to mention they're polychaetes, so if you do somehow manage to slice the head off it or something, it will just grow a new head, and the head will grow a new body, and they'll mate and make more worms. Story 5. Heat passing of the universe. Doesn't personally affect you, me, or anyone alive today, but how utterly helpless we are when it comes makes me uncomfortable. Story 6. I'm paraphrasing from memory, but at the end of the game, the king and the pawn go back in the same box. Story 7. The universe is huge. Our entire planet, our entire existence, is but a hydrogen atom in our sun as compared to the whole cosmological scale, probably even smaller. It makes me wonder why anything we do even matters. Story 8. That the only proof we have that our laws for the universe will continue to stay the same is the fact that they have for the duration of our brief existence so far. Story 9. That there are billions of people who have died and now are forgotten, and unless we do something significant as individuals, the same will happen to us. Story 10. I am wasting my life. I am aware of that my time could be spent more wisely. Still, I am not doing anything about it. Story 11. That there are around 50,000 people having intimacy in the world every second of every day, and I'm not one of them 99 of the time. Story 12. When you smell a fart on the subway, keep in mind you just have inhaled particles that were contained in some complete stranger's rectum just a few moments ago. Story 13. No matter what you are doing or where you are, there is always a possible way to die. Seriously, think about it. Story 14. living thing all have an average of 1.5 billion heartbeats during their lifetime. Just put your hand on your chest and start counting down. Story 15. Most of the people on the laugh tracks in television are dead. You are listening to the dead laughing. Answer: that's actually a misconception. 1. Most shows on television don't use a laugh track anymore. They use a live audience. 2. Old laugh tracks aren't used anymore. They're in mono. Modern laugh tracks are recorded and played in stereo, and even 5.1. Orson Welles said something like that about laugh tracks in the 70s, when it made sense. TV was in mono, but it doesn't make sense to say that in 2013 when we watch shows with stereo laugh tracks like iCarly and How I Met Your Mother. Story 16. That literally everything you have ever done has impacted the world in ways you can't even imagine. Dropped gum on the floor? Someone else steps on it. This causes him a minor inconvenience of about 30 seconds of scraping. He gets in his car and heads to work. This causes him to approach a light 30 seconds later than he would have. He misses the green light. He misses the elevator up to his office. Now he is late. This was his third strike at a very strict job. He got fired. His wife leaves him. His house goes into foreclosure. All because you dropped your gum in the wrong place. Now it's not. All bad things. You will set takedown and all manner of other things in motion, but you also push people together, create love, get people laid, all manner of things. Still, you ruined that dude's life, you gum-dropping bastard. Answer: if he's cutting it that close and he's late for the third time, it's likely that him getting fired was inevitable. At some point, things are so small they're irrelevant. And when you consider that if that man had simply walked with a different stride or another person could have stepped on the gum, it still makes that action small, but not meaningless, in the grand scheme of things. Great time to start talking about chaos theory, though. Story 17. Every atom in your body is transient. This means that approximately every 7 years, every single atom in your body gets swapped out for a new one. Therefore, everything that makes you up, your body, brain, and the synapses that store your memories are different to the ones you were born with. You are, in effect, literally a physically different person. Story 18. Assuming you don't believe in a god or afterlife, and I don't, I think about passing, not really passing, but after passing. Nothingness, no consciousness, no existence, no future, bleak, empty nothingness, like before existing. I don't know really how to describe this, but it's kept me awake at night in a cold sweat before. Answer: I'm absolutely fascinated with the concept of nothing, zero, non-existent, whatever. What do blind people see? They don't. People think, oh, if I cover my eyes, I'll be blind. False. You see darkness, you see the inside of your eyelids. Blind people just don't. Some people who agree with the Big Bang Theory, that is, say that the universe was simply everything, condensed into a single small point with empty blackness all around. Actually, according to that theory, the universe was infinitely small and dense at the time. There was literally nothing outside this infinitely small and dense point. This includes space itself. Space is something regardless if it has something in it or not. Nothing is a concept that is impossible to grasp because nothing just isn't. It doesn't exist because that is a state of being, right? It just does not. Story 19. An octopus is flexible enough to enter your mouth, navigate your entire GI tract, and exit your anus. Story 20. It kinda freaks me out that in about 50 years and I look back on my life, I will only remember distinctly about 1 out of 5 of my days. Like you could live like 10,000 days and maybe only remember 50 because something important happened and the rest just disappear. Story 21. Every single person you know you will see for the very last time at some point. You will likely have no idea when this point comes, and for many of the people you still consider good friends, this may have already passed. Edit. Obligatory thanks for the anonymous gold. Answer. So I have this female friend, and as you might have guessed, I've got a major thing for her, and she's moving away in 2 months. This is my biggest fear. She says she'll be back for visits, but who the hell knows where I'll be after college or even how often she'll be able to make it back. I'm genuinely scared that the last time I see her before she leaves will be the last time I see her ever, and that's where the book will close. Feels bad, man. Story 22. My grandmother is in the hospital dying, and my cousin is in the hospital giving birth. At this exact moment, I have no idea if my grandmother is alive or if my baby cousin has been born, and no one knows whether my grandmother will ever get to meet her new great-grandson. Update if anyone cares, the baby has been born. The grandmother is still alive and still dying. We still don't know if they'll ever get to meet. Second update. They still haven't met yet. They're in different hospitals at the moment, but my grandmother's medical team feels confident that they will be able to meet. She's never going home again, but she's not in palliative care yet and not on machines, so they're prioritizing keeping her comfortable and allowing her to be as lucid as possible for when she meets her great-grandson. Getting them together is at the forefront of everyone's minds, including the baby's parents. Final update. They finally got to meet earlier this week, and now my grandmother regales all her caregivers with stories of how awesome her great-grandson is. And, as an added bonus, she's stable enough that they're going to get to hang out lots more times in the future. Story 23. Most people are dead. Did you know that? It's true. Out of all the people that ever were, almost all of them are dead. There are way more dead people, and you're all going to die. And then you're going to be dead for way longer than you're alive, like that's mostly what you're ever going to be. You're just dead people that didn't die yet. Louis C.K. Story 24. Whenever you swim at a pool with others, the water you're swimming in, sticking your head in, has been in the cracks and crevices of people's butts, female body part, mouths, and basically everywhere. Story 25. Somewhere in the world, at this very moment, some poor soul is about to go on Reddit for the first time and be forever ensnared in its swirling vortex of cat pics and titties. Story 26. That snuff films, child-adult content, human trafficking, and every other horrible thing in between are happening in every country in the world. And watching all this is relatively easy with a little computer know-how. The people that enjoy these things aren't in it for money, but usually some sort of intimacy reason. They are also darker and more creative than I ever could be, and therefore do worse things than I could possibly imagine. The enormous potential of mankind goes in both positive and negative directions. TLDR. There are some very dark people in this world. Story 27. When you die, it will take less than 3 generations to forget you ever lived. No one will care that you lived, and your name will just be a carving on a tombstone somewhere. Story 28. In a book by Bill Bryson, he explains an interesting scientific theory. Our bodies have around 100 trillion cells, all of which contain more than 100 times more atoms than there are stars in the Milky Way galaxy. Our cells in our body are recycled every 5 years or so, and along with them, the atoms that compose them. Now, the interesting thing about this is that it's theorized that with this extremely rapid exchange of atoms that everyone goes through, Every one of you physically has about 1 billion atoms in your body right now that once belonged to Socrates, Da Vinci, Gandhi, and every other person that has ever walked this earth. This should be you right now. Story 29. There's no hard evidence to suggest that people are really anything more than sophisticated chemical robots, that consciousness is caused by anything but brain chemistry, and that we're really made of anything but matter. I've come to terms with it a while ago, though, and I actually think it's really beautiful, now when you think about it. If, as Carl Sagan said, we are star stuff, then we are our universe completely and totally. The thoughts I am thinking are made of electrical potentials jumping across atoms that were forged in the hearts of stars. My loves and frustrations were once part of billions of other people's loves and frustrations, and I am made of the thoughts of Gandhi and the dreams of Tolkien and the bones of dinosaurs. Hell, I'm made of things that nobody even knows about anymore, has ever known about, or will know about in the future. It's scary to think I'm not special and won't get remembered, sure. But why try to be special and eschew all this when I can melt with it and realize how essential I am to all of it and how I do have a place in the universe? Even if people don't remember me in a tiny way, no matter how I choose to live my life, the universe will remember me simply because I was there to change it. Story 30. The fact that all of us here most likely have access to everything we really need: food, water, shelter, and we have a lot of options. We have all this while the majority of people in the world don't. Over 1 billion people hardly have food or clean drinking water, and every day is a struggle to survive for them. And here we are, just browsing Reddit in our homes with food and water in our stomachs. That is the most unsettling fact for me. Edit. I guess the worst thing is that there's not much we can do about it, really. I'm happy living my life the way it is, but if we could fix the world's problems, that'd be something to be proud of. Story 31. Colony collapse disorder. The recent mass passing of all species of bees. They are a cornerstone to life on this planet, and they are dying more rapidly than ever. If they go, we go, and that is the truth. I don't mean to be like this, but if you see this, please upvote. More people need to know about it. This is why I want to become a beekeeper. Story 32. Two possibilities exist. Either we are alone in the universe or we are not. Both are equally terrifying. Story 33. Because of the time it takes for your brain to respond to various stimuli and let you know what's going on around you, you will never experience the present. You are always living in the past. Story 34. Anyone at any time could just make your life a living hell if they wanted to. They could eliminate you, but I'm not afraid of dying. I'm afraid of the torture other people can cause. Sometimes people don't even realize how they're affecting others. Story 35. Fudge, this is really late, but there is no such thing as time. Think about it. We created it. Everything is in a present. Something that you may think is the past is really just a past present. But while you lived it, it was in the present. And a picture of the past is a picture taken while you were in the present. Story 36. For of all sad words of tongue or pen, the saddest are these: It might have been. Maud Mueller by John Greenleaf Whittier. Edit. Format. Story 37. Kittens are warm and fuzzy. No, that's not an unsettling fact. I just figured you would need this if you've scrolled down this far. Story 38. That there is only one way to die: blood pumped from the heart, not reaching the brain. But there are billions of ways for this to happen. Edit. All right, the only way to die is clears throat, the essential supplements in blood not being able to be pumped up from your heart, and supply your brain with the things it needs. Edit. 2. Fine, I'm wrong. Fudge y'all, flips table. Story 39. Sonderne. The realization that each random passerby is living a life as vivid and complex as your own, populated with their own ambitions, friends, routines, worries, and inherited craziness. An epic story that continues invisibly around you like an anthill sprawling deep underground with elaborate passageways to thousands of other lives that you'll never know existed, in which you might appear only once, as an extra sipping coffee in the background, as a blur of traffic passing on the highway, as a lighted window at dusk. Story 40. No offense to any Redditors in particular, but I've never understood this feeling of being entitled to immortality or to a legacy. Eventually you will die, and nothing you've ever done will matter in the long run. Eventually your name will be uttered the last time, and you'll be completely forgotten. Yeah, sure, so bloody what? There's 7 billion people on the planet right now. Billions have lived before us, and billions will live after us. Your life is insignificant to humanity as a whole, but who cares? Why do you folks feel entitled to that much attention? It doesn't bother me at all that eventually I'll be forgotten and all that. Because what matters is the time you are on this earth, and that you are significant to a select few friends, family, and lovers who bring you joy and to whom you give joy. Answer. I like to imagine it is a relic of our biological heritage. Anatomically, modern humans are around 200,000 years old. We've been living in agricultural societies for about 6 of this time, and it was only in 2007 that the number of people living in cities surpassed the number of people who weren't. Living in a modest band of hunter-gatherers 100,000 years ago, it was not unrealistic to be known, at least secondhand, by the majority of people you ever met. The planet was sparsely populated, and whatever humans existed beyond your immediate environment, you were blissfully unaware of. As humans, we are prone to creating groups of people in our mind in order to understand where we sit in the social order. It's the product of being social creatures. In the past, we had much smaller groups, immediate relatives, close friends, your tribe, outsiders. It is easy to imagine yourself as important when your world consists of a couple hundred people. Contrast that to modern life, where we can place ourselves within much larger groups. Cities, states, nations, subcultures, business communities, political parties, humanity. Our world is much larger, and we are cursed with the quantifiable knowledge of how immensely insignificant we are. Personally, I like to think that many people's desire to matter or be remembered is a coping mechanism when confronted with the modern reality we are born into. In some part of our primitive monkey brains, we have a drive to feel significant and matter to other people. And this drive was pretty easy to satisfy when our understanding and our individual worlds were much smaller. It's not a rational thing to feel entitled to being significant or memorable to the world today, but it is understandable when you consider how strange our society seems when contrasted to the one we were created in. As for my unsettling fact, I'll just restate what I said. We are humans living in a modern era with societies that exist on a scale and with an abundance of resources unimaginable to the environment we were created in. Infant mortality in the US has declined from around 25 in 1850 to less than 1 today. Food is increasingly cheap and abundant. It is almost impossible to predict how this new environment will evolve and shape us. Will our societies collapse under the burden of apathy as everything is increasingly automated and the drive to work and achieve becomes some vestigial trait? Will we be overrun by population explosion as our abundant society eventually fails to select against people who desire dozens of children? Will we overcome passing with medical technology and eventually be forced to ration out birthing privileges to avoid overpopulation? Will technology, by replacing our need for a physical presence and allowing us to be increasingly connected with each other, eventually blur the boundaries between self and group until we are nothing but a collective hive mind? Story 41. The fact that I won't be able to see the great technology that will come in, say, about 1,000 years or 40,000 years, I feel like I'm going to miss out on a lot, like going to space or another planet, flying cars, etc. How depressing. Story 42. That 31 U.S. states allow rapists custody and visitation rights for the child born from the violation. WTF. Story 43. You die twice. One time when you stop breathing and a second time a bit later on, when somebody says your name for the last time. Story 44. That you can never actually touch anything or anyone, and what you feel and register as touching is actually repulsion. Story 45. Most of the women in my life have been violation or molested at some point in either their childhood or teen years. Story 46. The fact that people still believes that you swallow 6 to 8 or whatever number spiders each year. This is false. Story 47. The fact that George R.R. Martin is 63 and doesn't appear to be in the best shape. It took him more than 6 years to write the last book, and he still has to write 2 more. That guy has got to give the gist of it to somebody. Story 48. If you picked yourself apart one atom at a time, you'd end up with a mound of fine atomic dust, none of which had ever been alive, but all of which had just been you. Source: A Short History of Nearly Everything by Bill Bryson. Story 49. People are starving somewhere, and we're debating whether or not individuals should be able to marry the same intimacy. Story 50. No matter what you do, how rich or poor you are, how many people love or dislike you, you're going to die and nothing you do will have mattered in the long run. Story 51. There's a gift shop at the U.S. Holocaust Museum, and there's a gift shop at the USS Arizona Memorial. Story 52. The universe will eventually collapse back in upon itself, meaning no matter what, no one and no thing can exist forever. Everything is doomed. Story 53. Imagine a person with average intelligence. Now imagine that 50 of the population is more dumb than that person. Answer: Some scoff at the idea that most people rate themselves as having above-average intelligence. But this is absolutely possible, since there's no uniform definition of intelligence. I tend to think the things I am good at are indicative of intelligence, while someone else might think those things irrelevant. We each have a different definition of intelligence, apply it to the population, and find ourselves in the upper end of the spectrum. Story 54. The only thing keeping my car from lurching and running over people in the crosswalk is the narrow sliver of rubber along the inner side of my shoe as I'm pressing the brake by the corner of the pedal. Story 55. When I die, I think there's a good chance that I won't even recognize that I'm dying. There won't be any time to reflect on what's about to happen or to think about the events in my life and whatnot. It'll just happen, and then nothingness. No sensation, no perception. I guess it's not a fact, though. I could die a very slow passing. Or maybe souls exist, and I'll still exist after passing. But it's something I think about from time to time, and it's not always unsettling to me either. Story 56. Seeds manufacturers purposely make their seeds infertile so that farmers buy more. Imagine all the food they could have grown. Story 57. After a couple thousand years of recorded human civilizations, we still don't treat each other as equals. Story 58. We start to die the moment we start to live. The egg and the sperm combine, and suddenly there is life, but it is a finite occurrence, and the clock started the moment life began. From that moment until the spark leaves our body, our clock is constantly counting down. It's why it is important that we live our life,